8 minutes. Thank you very much.
Good morning, my auditors and all the directors and the admin side. My name is Kabron Guro and I'm standing here representing the motion that media should expose the private life of politicians. And here are my friends with me, ABC and then Daruf, Eni are with me. Those are supporting my motion, which is media should expose the private life of politicians. When you call back to the history of the starting of the government, people tend to represent the political candidates who are going to represent them in their political ideas. So people try to pursue and get the attention of the people, which are going to be led by those political candidates. So they try to pursue them with ideas, and then some try with the force. So at this age, or this 21st century, there is no such a kind of things which will to conquer them with a force. So politicians should pursue or take attention of those people which are going to be led by them through ideas and a good performance, which is going to be expressed by the medias which are available in the entire country and which is so acceptable with the nation of the country as well. Therefore, when you say politicians, we are talking about people whose main job or their action is mainly focused with the politics of the country, and then they are leading the nation through a political way. And then they are going to be elected through several ways. It could be either indirect or indirect democratic way, and then they are called the politicians. And when you say private life, we are talking about the limited extent of private life, which means we're not talking about the favorite meal they take or the favorite color of wear or shoes that they do with severally. So we are talking about in limited extent when you say private life. And when you say medias, we are talking about the mainstream medias, which are tangibly acceptable with the entire nation of the country, where the political candidates are going to be computed in. So there are a lot of contentions which are going to be read. Those are almost 6, and I'll introduce them. The first one is exposing their life provides a motivation for the people. The second contention is it enables us to know them for real, not for whom they are pretending to be. The third is exposing their life, which it has a benefit for both of the elected and those which are going to elect them. The fourth condition is it avoids the fear of the nation on the policies being made on the future. The fifth one is politicians' lives need to be an open book. And the sixth one is their private life reflect their judgment. So the first 4 are going to be represented by me, and then I will start from the first contention, which says exposing their life provides a motivation for the people. When you say there are a lot of motivational speeches nowadays, so when they speak, if they are a good person or if they are bad, since they are in a good hierarchy or in a good authority, they will make an influence in the life of the nation or in the life of whoever is going to listen or look at what they do, what they think, or how they act or reflect in their life. So exposing their life, it motivates the people. If the politician or a leader is a good person or it has something valuable that could enable or motivate and inspire the people, so it motivates and it results in a motivation. It has a good end, so we need to expose through media the private life of politicians in order to motivate the people of the country. The second was it enabled us to know them for it, not for whom they are pretending to be. So nowadays we know, and then it's a human culture or a human behavior that people tend to pretend someone whom they are not for real. For instance, a politician candidate could have a malfunctional motivation he wants to use through his authority after coming or after being elected through the nations. He might act to be corrupt, or he wants to do, or he wants to influence some religious part or some ethnic groups through based on a mal thinking or but look for those which are in the outside of his ethnicity or his religion or a lower grade or hierarchy in educational levels might be. So exposing their private lives through media will introduce us to the real political person inside, not for whom he's going to pretend to be. The third one is exposing their life. It benefits both of the political candidates which are going to compete and those which are going to elect them. When you take the side of the political candidate which is going to be elected or which is going to compete for the election, when people know the real person who he is, not for whom pretending to be, they will elect him confidentially without any risk in the future that might arise through a lifespan of his political authority in their country. So they will not be a fear for what's going to be happening. And the side of when we think about the elected who are going to give a vote, they will not fear that he might do about things like that are implementing a law of gay marriage, that of homosexuality, those of avoiding some religious groups in the country. So there will not be a fear for the policies which is going to be implemented in the future through the lifespan of the political candidate when he is leading the country as a politician in their nation. Therefore, the fourth one, it avoids the fear of the nation on the policies being made, and then I said it. So when I conclude this one, we can raise a lot of evidences like what happened in Italy and the former president. He started to make an affair with the actress Julia Gay, and they started the vote race, and the second race started to fall down. So since they were not accepting the idea that having an affair outside of their legal marriage, so the vote goes down. Therefore, when you take a look for carefully at this point, it is highly influential to know the political life of the private life of the political candidates for the entire nation of the country which is going to elect them and those for which are going to compete in the election. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Now we'll move on to the other side. And then the first speaker from the against side is Brahim Wanyo, and then he's going to present us the presentation. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. My name is Brahim Wanyo, and I am on the against side of the idea that media should expose the private life of politicians. We are not support this idea. This house believes that media should not expose the private life of politicians. Before I start to expose this idea, I would like to say something about the terms. When you say the media, we are talking about the mainstream media, not other social media, because when we are talking about the mainstream media, they have their own rule and regulation. So I'm talking about the mainstream media. And when I say politician, the politician means the media should expose the private life of politicians. We are not support this idea. This house believes that media should not expose the private life of politicians. Before I start to expose this idea, I would like to say something about the terms. When you say the media, we are talking about the mainstream media, not other social media, because when we are talking about the mainstream media, they have their own rule and regulation. So I'm talking about the mainstream media. And when I say politician, the politician means the person who is already responsible for their works, the person who is already elected, and the person who is already in action of doing something that are given by the people. So we have some ideas. The first one is media should not expose the private life of politicians because the first one is for their safety. When I try to explain this thing, when you say he's a responsible person, he's not a regular person, he's a responsible person, he's a politician. He has so many responsibilities that are given from the people. He is the first person to appear when something is on the country will come. So if we expose the private life of the politician, it's really bad for his safety. Like when I give an example, like we still now we don't hear on a mainstream media that Dr. Abiy will chill with his family on the Saudi at 5 o'clock. We can't hear just like these things. Because if mainstream media will just broadcast these kinds of things, many enemies, not only enemies, but many people will go there and just to see him, and rather than so many enemies will appear. So by these kinds of things are really bad for his safety. And the other idea is it's not the rule and the regulation of the mainstream media is not just exposing the private life of politicians, because at the first place private means private. It should be kept from the person only. It should not be exposed. And the other thing is media should not expose the private life of politicians, because his private life should be kept in private, like I said before. When he wants to chill with his family and his friends, like he's a regular person. But the only thing is different from us, he has responsibilities. So these kinds of things, if these kinds of things will exposed by the mainstream media, like I said before, so many bad things will happen. Not only the good things, there are already the bad things will happen there. So when I say his private life, like the life without his job. Like if he do his job perfectly, and if he perform on his job perfectly, then why should we expose his life on the mainstream media? Why should we expose his private life on the mainstream media? So by these all things, media should not be exposed the private life of the politician. There are some ideas, and this is all I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So now we'll go to the second presenter, Henok.
Okay, thanks for giving this opportunity. My name is Henok and I'm from the Ashton University of Film second year student. I'm from the supporter side, on the pro side. And I'm going to present about some topics that is going to suggest our idea. And the first one is politicians represent the country, and therefore we have the right to know what they are doing in our country. For example, with whom the politicians is going to meet. If a country has given a petroleum that given in nature in one country, we don't know what if the politicians or the Prime Minister is going to meet with Arab person or another person, or is going to meet with another person, and he may sell a petroleum gas for another country. So each individual activity is going to be kept in mind, and we have the right to know the positive and the negative side of the politicians. We are living in a democratic country, so to know the negative and to know the positive side of the politicians, and to know each and individual activity of the politicians in their daily activity is going to make our clear suggestion for that politicians. And the second one is politicians live very significant to our vote. We are not saying that we should inspect every little detail of politicians live, like what color their underwear, or what time they took their pill, or what time they took their dinner. We are not saying that, but we are trying to say that the crucial examples like that of their education, their past inspiration, or if they have any significant law breaks. For example, if we know the politicians is came in a break manner, or he make a corruption, knowing the politicians of himself is very significant for our vote. So the second one is politicians need to be an open book. That means it has to be transparency and accountability. Yes, politicians' private lives should be public. People have a right to know everything about politicians, candidates live. If we're going to put our trust in someone by voting for them, we need to know what kind of person they are and what kind of lifestyle they lead. If a politician is not willing to share his private life, then he must have something to hide and is not worthy to represent us. And the other one is the private life of politicians reflects their judgment. The politicians reflect their judgment. For politicians, personal judgment is a large part of their jobs. personal judgment are a large part of the politicians. So knowing the way of they are going to make a judgment is used to make a vote, or is used to make on a trust on the politicians. If the politician is going to make a decision in a given situation, politician to know the politician's performance in a given way, it will make trust on him. And the last one is politicians need to know there is some phrase that are related to politicians. With a great power comes great responsibility. People must know what politicians are doing when they are not in public events. For example, people should have to know what the politician is going to make in his daily activity if he's not appearing in the public event. People must keep a close eye and observe the private lives of politicians to see if they do, they not lie. For example, why would you hear a financial advisor if he bankrupt himself, or if he make a corruption? For example, if Abiy Ahmed, just in a sense, if Abiy Ahmed is going to make a corruption, and he suggests the idea of neglecting the corruption in one's country, why would you hear Abiy Ahmed's sayings? You don't have to hear him. So it simply shows that he cannot be in a good financial position himself. How can we trust him to make a decision and help others in making financial decisions? And I finished. Thanks for listening.
Thank you very much. And then, sorry, Enoch. Now the second presenter from the game side is Rahim. So Rahim will say.
I'm here. This house believes that media should not expose the private life of politicians because of the reasons that are mentioned by my friends. And I'm going to mention and list out our reasons why we say this. To begin with the supporters, you mentioned a lot of ideas, and we're going to because of this, you mentioned about we have a right to know what are they doing in their individual lives. Of course, we all have a right to know what are they doing, but we all have the right to know about in their work. As long as they take their responsibility in their work, what is the main point of to know their private life? You mentioned about the crucial things about education and law breaks. When it comes to education, that is the main question to be elected as a politicians. So this is not a private life, because we all know that if you are not educated well, we are not going to be a politician. So people they are not going to vote for the politicians, because academic status and